What's testing positive for coronavirus? An advantage in trade deals. Joining me is Matt Cheslock to weigh in on the up action that we're having today. Matt, China is halving, we were saying that, halving their tariffs on us. Do you think that this has anything to do with them suffering from the coronavirus and now we have the edge on them?
I'm sure no one is going to admit that. That may be the case, though. I think they're responding to the fact that we said we would lower our tariffs as well on certain products. So, it's the first step of phase one being implemented, but I'm sure they're not at a point where they have a lot of leverage right now, at least in the public's eyes around the world. So I think they're going out on a little bit of a limb here and saying, you know what, we're saving some face here. This is what we're going to do in response to what you've done and all that the world has done to help them.
So why are we only up 83 points on that?
I think it was expected that that was going to happen. Now there's concerns now about what's going on in China as they reopen some of their factories. The concern is that this virus will pick up steam again as more people are getting out in the public. So I think people are a little bit cautious, especially after we saw this enormous rally over the last 2 days. This is just really a time to take a breath.
All right, so Matt, mainstream financial media is not talking about this, so we're going to talk about it here. Major shorts, experienced shorts, are really legging in on a position here, starting to dollar cost average, waiting for this moment. Obviously, you're not going to short the market when you're reaching record highs, but they are starting at it, quoting that there's some inefficiencies there.
Well, again, a lot of people could be looking at what's transpiring in the election front, and the concern was the second half of this year. So do you want to leg into a position into strength? That's how someone should leg into a position, right? And you should leg into it in weakness when you're buying, right? I mean, it's the same way. You don't want to buy your whole position at a particular price point. You want to buy pieces of it. So if you're a smart investor and you're saying markets are at all-time highs, but I see clouds on the horizon or concerns, especially with what we've seen as far as politics over the last little bit, and you want to leg into a short position, this is certainly the time to do it. We've seen some enormous moves. I mean, Tesla, for example, 60% in 2 days or whatever it moved. I mean, on nothing new or substantially new news. So, smart money may be right on this one.
All right, so let's walk through some of these concerns. Looking at the charts, right? We're having, I wouldn't say volatility, but more like price volatility. There's gaps all over the place, those mini gaps, those choppy little candles. Is that a concern to you?
Yeah, I mean, anytime you see stocks moving 100 points in a particular day, we saw, some smaller names move 30 points in a day. I mean, this is unusual activity, right? So the concern is that we've seen this in the past. This has signified a bubble, right? And you only know it's a bubble until after it pops, right? Tesla, the concern was, people put $7,000 price targets on Tesla and then immediately retrace back to 700, right? So the concern that I would have in this market is first and foremost the election. We saw the Iowa caucus and what came out of that. That's the biggest one. The market's not going to like someone that is in the lead in Iowa, and we've been pretty adamant about that. That's the first thing that I'm going to look at. China's the other thing that you're going to look at. Is this going to extend, and how far is it going to affect suppliers, and how many companies are going to use it as a crutch or an excuse in their first quarter earnings to say that this period of time, we're not going to meet our number.
And how about IPOs? The losing faith in IPOs. We did have Casper today. Matt had his eye mask on, saying that we're trading blindly down there. If that doesn't say a market top, I don't know what is. But no, all kidding aside, Casper shed its horn as a unicorn by pricing on the lower end of the range.
Yeah, it certainly did. I mean, the pricing was not what Casper, I would assume, wanted. It was well below the recent financing round of like $1.1 billion and priced under $500 million. Had a strong opening today. Off the really low pricing. So, again, I think we're starting to question the valuations that VC firms are putting on some of these companies. And that's going to come into question over and over when we've seen Peloton and we've seen WeWorks and we've seen Uber and Casper. As an investor, I think your concerns should be valid as far as the valuations, and you want to wait and see how trading takes place before you might put your money to work.
Yeah, we had a similar situation with Uber last year. Uber they are posting earnings tonight, and options are calling for a jump over 40. What do you think?
Well, it's funny, they're talking about laying out the path to profitability, right? right now they haven't even gotten close to it. But people will probably buy into the fact that they think that they're going to find a way to do it in the near future. So, I've showed up on a couple buy lists, from some firms and best idea lists. Certainly if Uber can find a way to that path to profitability, that's going to be an enormous jump, because right now they seem to be losing a lot of money. So, the question is, how quickly can they really do it? You look at Twitter's earnings today, right? Twitter had great numbers as far as daily active users and things like that, but they still didn't meet the profit target. But the stock is rallying because they have this path or this promise to go forward. And that's what Uber is promising you, hopefully tonight, by the options, activity going forward.
Yeah, with all this IPO action and unicorn action, I bet Robinhood accounts are going crazy today.
Yeah, certainly. That's a really interesting concept as well. Robinhood, Acorn, these new millennial type, savings or stock type picking. I'm trying to bring it up to my kids. I have 3 kids that are under 20. And it's very interesting now, and it's so much different than when, I started a few years ago.
All right, well, thank you so much. That is Matt Cheslock from Virtue Financial here at the New York Stock Exchange.